Hello again, this is Preheat. Welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. So I just got done doing all of the updates for Wowhead. So all of this is available now for Frostfire. So if you're looking to learn how to play Frostfire, I've updated all the builds, rotation, everything is in here. It took a while to get this done, a little bit longer than I expected, and it is currently 3:34 a.m. So I was planning to do a full fire guide, but I'm kind of out of time here. So what I'm going to do today is guide you through on what you need to know about Frostfire if you already understood Sunfury Fire Mage. And if you're wondering how that plays, you can always check out my previous video. Also, expect to see a video soon, a full-on video, like my normal guides. This is just a transition guide. This is just to get you up to speed with what you need to know for Tuesday. So something is out there so you can, be able to understand what you're supposed to be doing. What we're going to do is talk about differences. So biggest difference between Sunfury and Frostfire is that you have another ability that's kind of at the same tier as Phoenix Flame, which is Frostfire Bolt with the empowered Frostfire Bolt buff. So this is a buff that gives you both excess frost and excess fire. It also caps out your buffs, your haste and mastery buffs. So it's very, very strong. It also falls into the priority above Phoenix Flame if you do not currently have excess frost available. So this is probably the biggest difference between Frostfire and Sunfury is that you also have Frostfire Bolt and Empowered Frostfire Bolt. You're trying to use excess frost. That's a buff you need to track. Also, the talents are obviously very different. So this right here is my talent build for single target. Obviously, if you're looking for more builds, you can just go check out Wowhead and you can click to export those as well. But I've included a couple different builds here for Frostfire and also some Sunfury builds if you want to stick with that. But probably the biggest thing other than having to have another set of buffs to track here is Meteor. Meteor actually changes how we play quite a bit. So Sunfury has Isothermic Core, which basically makes it so every time we use a Meteor, we get a Comet Storm 2. It looks really cool, and it does a ton of damage. This thing absolutely owns for burst AOE. So let's go over what you're going to do in your opener since you're playing Meteor. This is going to change just a little bit. Okay, so for the opener, you're going to precast a Power Blast into a Phoenix Flame just like before. Make sure it hits as the boss is being pulled. So boss is being pulled right here as it makes contact. And so this is going to return either a hot streak or a heating up, depending on if the first Pyroblast crit or not. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to do Meteor next. Meteor is going to come out, and as soon as I do this Meteor, I'm going to begin a Scorch cast, and I'm going to press Combustion. So right here, Scorch Combustion. And then if I didn't get a crit on that first Pyroblast, I'm going to need to use a Fire Blast right here, so I get a hot streak. So if the first one crit, I won't need to use the Fire Blast. And if it didn't, which is going to be the common case, then I Fire Blast here. So Fire Blast. This allows me to queue an instant cast Power Blast from the end of the Scorch. So both of those are going to go off here at the same time. You'll see it on the timeline. So boom, double Power Blast, right there. So the Scorch and the instant cast Power Blast both crit, which return the hot streak. I use it again. And then we're going to work through our Fire Blast charges. So just get those down until we're out. And then we're going to use Empowered Frostfire Bolt instead of Phoenix Flame here. So right here, normally you would use Phoenix Flame, but we don't have excess frost up. So we're going to use Empowered Frostfire Bolt here. Okay, now that puts up our excess heat or excess fire and excess frost buffs. So what we're going to do is use this Power Blast first, and then we're going to work through the Fire Blast, and then we're going to do the Phoenix Flame afterwards. Okay, and then so right here, I have a Fire Blast coming up, so I'm going to use the Fire Blast. Boom. And then next up is the Empowered Frostfire Bolt so that we get excess frost on Phoenix Flame. And then we use the Phoenix Flame here. And then, so this is SKB proccing. So we're going to go ahead and hardcast the Power Blast. And we're going to convert a heating up into a hot streak so I can queue a Power Blast from this cast. So I'm just going to do the double Power Blast again. Boom, boom. And yeah, basically from here, it's like if I've got some Fire Blasts, I'm going to work through those. If I only have one, I might go for a Frostfire Bolt instead just to get the excess fire up first and then Fire Blast. But basically the prio is just trying to do Fire Blast and then Frostfire Empowered Frostfire Bolt if we have it, and we don't have excess frost, and then Phoenix Flame after that. And obviously, if you're playing Improved Scorch like in Execute, you'll want to keep your Improved Scorch up more. So like if it's about to expire, that's like your top priority in a builder. But otherwise, you're kind of just going through the motions here. And yeah, pretty much just use this Meteor if it can hit in the combustion. And so yeah, that closes out our first combustion. So that's going to be it for the opener. So I just want to show some examples of what Frostfire can do if you plan out your Meteors well. So Meteor has like a super short cooldown as Frostfire because you get cooldown reduction whenever you use excess frost. So it actually makes it like really easy to get your Meteor back. So yeah, I'm going to be able to farm up this meteor here. Notice how I'm not using the combustion yet. I probably used that on cooldown, but I was just kind of testing out what would happen if I tried to line stuff up here. So roots are about to happen, right? So what I'm going to do here is basically set it up so that the comet storms on the meteor hit like right as the Silken Tomb is coming out. So here I'm in my combustion and I time it right there. So as the roots are coming out, the comet storms are happening. Boom, 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 boom. And it actually just like globals the roots. It's like kind of crazy how much damage that does. So this is just something to think about. I don't think you want to hold your meteor for too long to try to find instances like this where you can get a little extra damage. But I have found so far, just like testing on Heroic, it seems like if there's any sort of burst AoE, if you time your meteor right and get those comet storms to hit like in a combustion, actually does a pretty decent chunk of damage. Okay, so moving on from there, I want to show you some Sickrin single target stuff. So yeah, on the open air, same deal, right? Power Blast into Phoenix Flame, throw out the meteor. In this case, I crit, so I don't need to use a Fire Blast in my opener. So just meteor and then Scorch, press combustion. Cue the Fire Blast here, boom, boom, double Fire Blast, use the Fire Blast, working through the Fire Blast. I just don't want to cap on any of them. I don't think the order actually matters all that much at the start of combustion. It's more so that you just like fit all your Fire Blasts in by the end of combustion. So sometimes I'll do like a Frostfire Bolt before a Fire Blast if I've already used a couple of those. Just as long as I end combustion, like having spent all my Fire Blasts, I think it's good. So yeah. So here we have SKB happening. So we go straight into SKB from there. One thing that's interesting is if you SKB and you extend the combustion, you don't actually get in the power of Frostfire Bolt. But if you let combustion just fall off for a second, you do get Frostfire Bolt. Currently in the Sims, it just like sends the SKB regardless. But I'm curious to know if that might be an optimization that later is found on. Because it seems like having extra empowered Frostfire Bolt seems pretty good, especially for, you know, the increased cooldown reduction. So yeah, I haven't been able to test this yet or like figure out if it's worth it, but it just intuitively, it seems like it may be worth it if you have an SKB coming up like at the very end of your combustion. But anyways, I guess we'll wait until we do the full fire guide to talk more about that. So yeah, this is Heroic, so people are just like hard trolling, right? But anyways, just trying to do my best, obviously. Just trying to test things out. And so here's a good opportunity to use Shifting Power, basically, because I had like everything on cooldown there. We just want to, basically with Shifting Power as this build, we just want to use it whenever we're like out of Phoenix Flames, or if combustion is coming up in like 20 seconds. That's how the sim does it. That's the logic. I went ahead and tested it out like to see if maybe the logic on it was flipped. Maybe it meant more than 20 seconds and it actually didn't make a difference. So I think you just like use it right before combustion, regardless of the situation. But ideally use it with like everything on cooldown, Fire Blast on cooldown, Phoenix Flame on cooldown. That way you get the most value out of it. But anyways, I'm pretty sure you actually want to have a heating up for any SKB that you do. I don't have one right here. Obviously, I'm not super practiced on this yet, but I'm pretty sure you'd want to do that. But anyways, we're going to do an SKB here, and I can just cue the meteor from it, and then use a Fire Blast or some other generator to make sure I just immediately go into my combustion rate. Just trying to work through the buffs, basically. And I mean, like outside the cooldowns, like you're pretty much just doing instant cast until you're like out, right? Because you can build almost all the way up to an SKB just like doing instant cast. So you see me like flipping through the 3, right? It's like I used the Fire Blast, and I used a Empowered Frostfire Bolt, and I used a Phoenix Flame, and I'm just kind of like cycling through those 3 with guaranteed crits, right? And then just use Meteor as soon as your combustion's up, right? That's where you get that big value. So here I'm in my SKB, and combustion's about to come up now. So we'll set for this combustion. And if I have Empowered Frostfire Bolt, I cannot set up for the combustion like I would normally do with a Frostfire Bolt, right? Because it would be instant cast, right? So in that case, I'm actually going to use Scorch instead. So just a minor note. You will have to set up for combustion still. You want to like be casting into your combustion ideally. So that's either going to be like an SKB if you have it ready, like a Power Blast, and you would make sure you combustion before the Power Blast ends. Or it would be a Scorch if you have like Execute, or if you just use Meteor, or if you have Empowered Frostfire Bolt. And then otherwise just like use Frostfire Bolt to go into it. But anyways, I pop combustion here, do the double Power Blast, and then just work through my buffs like we talked about, right? Just cycling through them. Just trying to give each one its time, right? SKB comes up, just send that shit right away. Moving closer because I see that the boss is going to run out of range. And just try to get the meteors in if you can get them in during combustion. It's really, really good if you can get them in at the end of a combustion. Right? Yeah, actually, this build actually does a lot of single target. It's pretty good, especially if you get PI. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of the gist of it. Like, nothing really is going to change here until we reach like 30%, which is where we'll start worrying about like improved Scorch as well. So that's where things get a little bit annoying because we want to maintain that buff. But otherwise, it is pretty straightforward. So one thing I think Frostfire will want to do, just like Sunfury did, is on fights where there's like ad phases, like Ogrex, specifically on Mythic. I'm just trying out on Heroic just to test it out, but like whenever there's an ad phase, like you probably want to be using Flamestrike, right? So probably the first on the chopping block, if I wanted to pick up the Flamestrike talents, is the Scorch stuff. I would just drop the Scorch stuff. It's not a huge deal. Also, Pyrotechnics is a very, very weak talent. Like you can easily drop this one, put it over in the Majesty of the Phoenix. You can drop these two. You can pick up Quick Flame here, potentially also Mark of the Fire Lord. This will get you a lot more burst AOE for those situations where there's like ads happening. But yeah, I've actually played with a lot of different talents. I even played with Deep Impact at 2 targets. It seems like pretty good. Living Bomb also seems pretty good for Mythic Plus. Obviously, go check out the Wowhead guides for more information on that. But yeah, just keep in mind, if there's ever 4 more targets and we have like the Flamestrike talent, so like we have, as long as we have Quick Flame, really, then we want to actually use a Hardcast Flamestrike to activate our SKB at 4 targets instead of a Pyroblast. That one specifically is really, really good, the Flamestrike. But otherwise, unless the targets are going to die really quick, which in this case they will die quick, right? But like, unless they're going to die quick, we don't really use Flamestrike. Like, we pick up Flamestrike for the Mythic Plus build for good reason, because we want to have the ability to Flamestrike for situations where we need Flamestrike. It's about flexibility and not giving up too much single target for that flexibility. But for the most part, as this build, you kind of want to just like Flamestrike at like 8 or more targets usually, unless SKB is happening, or unless mobs are going to die quick, right? Or unless it's just like a Gigapole, obviously 8 or more targets, just, you know, send the Flamestrike. But yeah, the reason why we want to stick with Pyroblasting is because of this talent here, Firefall. This has a lot of synergy with Isothermic Core. These two work together, like we mentioned. So like, we want to make sure that we're like using Fireballs and Pyroblasts a lot, so that we can get more meteors, because more meteors is just more damage. But yeah, obviously having the option to go full AoE mode if we need to is great. You can also just like say, you know what, I'm never going to Flamestrike, I'm just going to go Living Bomb. That's fine too. This actually does a lot of damage in Mythic Plus, I found. Living Bomb is still not too strong, but like the combination of just getting like a lot of meteors out and doing a lot of prio damage with the added Living Bomb damage is pretty dang good. Especially if you can also pick up Mark of the Fire Lord, but obviously you have to invest a little bit more talents to pick that up. But yeah, anyways, a full guide will be coming soon. I just want to give y'all the information that you needed now. Oh, one last thing. I almost forgot. Ice Flows is really, really good for Frostfire because we have this talent here. This makes it so we have less cooldown reduction on it. So instead of being 20 seconds, it's actually 14 seconds on Ice Flows. And we basically never hardcast except for like SKB, or if we're like channeling, you know, shifting power. So we basically always have Ice Flows. You're just like full cast while moving, playing this build. So yeah, it feels really good. But anyways, that's going to be it for today. So just a reminder, I do coaching on Metafy. So if you're interested in coaching, one-on-one coaching, just click the link in the description for Metafy and schedule a session, and we can do that. Obviously, just, you know, if you want free resources, go check out my Wowhead guide, video to come soon. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of my content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.